Okay, hello, how you doing? Thanks for logging on and watching the video, okay? Be sure at the end, if you like it, click like. If you don't, click unlike. Any questions or comments, be sure to drop them into the comment section or email me. You'll get me on Facebook. So, the way I've done this is I've broken it down into 4 parts, okay? So we've maps, so I'll give you an introduction to maps. Then we're on to the features of a map. Compass, so an introduction to a base plate compass, and then after that then I'm going to show you grid references, 8-figure grid references to be exact, which if you use them should be able to bring your location down to a 10-meter area. Alright, so on grid references I'm going to show you how you can, if I was to give you a grid reference, you would be able to plot your grid reference. So you'd be able to use your compass or your roamer, put it straight onto your map, and you would be able to pinpoint the location that I've given you the grid reference for. Also, if I give you a location, such as say a spot height, you will be able to put your compass or your roamer on top of that spot height or whatever feature, and you'll be able to write down an 8-figure grid reference for that feature. Alright, handy to have. And GPS systems and stuff like that that are on sale today are excellent. They will pinpoint your location within, I think, 1 meter or 3 meters or something like that. This stuff is what you should be using. Okay, GPS is lovely and it's handy to have. It's real Gucci gear, but if you can use this then and you just have your GPS then for in case of emergencies, it makes more for a more enjoyable walk. Okay, so to get straight into it, Ireland is broken down into squares or rectangles. Okay, each square and rectangle is given a number which denotes what map you're going to purchase. Okay, so this map here, I'm going to put a picture up of all the squares and their numbers now. Okay, and this map here, as you can see, is sheet 56. Okay, now sheet 56 on the Ordnance Survey, or on the Ordnance Survey Ireland website, will get you the Wicklow Mountains National Park. Okay, you get a little bit of Kildare in the top left corner, and you get a little bit of Dublin. Okay, but it's mainly the Wicklow Mountains National Park, which is why it's a great map for hill walkers and hikers to have. Okay, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to describe it as if someone is trying to find you. Okay, so the first question you're going to be asked is, where are you? So if you can say, well, I'm on sheet 56, it gives them a search area, alright, that they can start looking for you. Alright, it's a pretty big search area, but it's a search area nonetheless. So the next thing I suppose you can do from there is you can use what's called your grid prefix. Okay, so a grid prefix is super important when you're writing down your grid references. Okay, your grid prefix is basically a letter that's going to they're basically letters that break your map up into segments. Okay, so some maps will have one thick blue line that run down, and you'll have a letter on the right or a letter on the left. Other maps will have them going across the way horizontally. You'll have a letter on top and a letter on the bottom. Okay, our map has 4 letters. Okay, so 4 grid prefixes. I'm going to put a picture of them up now. We have, as you can see, November, Oscar, Tango, and Sierra. I'll use the phonetic alphabet because it kind of does away with any potential ambiguity. Okay, so as you can see, November applies to everything that's above my pencil and everything that's to the left of my pencil. So it's basically the top left-hand corner of this map. Okay, Oscar again is everything to the right-hand side of the pencil and everything above the pencil, which is basically the top right-hand side of the map. Tango from the pencil down and from the pencil to the right. So it's basically the bottom right-hand corner of the map. And Sierra is the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Okay, now the reason for the importance of your grid prefix is, if you were to say, let's say take a square, okay, a grid square, we'll call it say 1714, alright, which is just up in here. Okay, if you were to say I'm in 1714 on sheet 56 and you never gave a grid prefix, okay, somebody could be looking in 1714 over here in November. Also, they could be looking for you down 1714 in Tango, okay? So just to make you aware of this, in Tango, I'm going to see if we have 1714 available. No, we don't. But it is, you will see on some maps, okay, on some maps, you will get a 1714 up here and you'll get a 1714 down below. And the only thing to differentiate between the two will be your grid prefix. So, November, Oscar, Tango, Sierra. Alright, fairly straightforward. With a grid prefix, as you can see already, alright, we've moved our search area down from sheet 56 and we're going to use predominantly prefix Oscar. Okay, so when we use grid prefix Oscar, we've already brought the person that's searching for us down to a smaller area. Alright. Okay, so how we're going to bring down our search area smaller than our grid prefix, okay, is we're going to use northings and eastings. Now, northings and eastings are the blue lines that run vertically and horizontally on your map. Okay, there's a number attributed to each line. Okay, so if you follow a line up to the top of the map, you will see a number, you'll see numbers all along the top of your map. Equally, you'll see the same numbers along the bottom of your map. You'll see numbers on the right and on the left hand side. And those numbers all correspond to the blue lines at which they are either over, under or beside. Okay, so the difference between northings and eastings are the lines that run vertically on your map, okay, are called eastings. And they will denote how far east you are from a certain point. The lines that run horizontally, okay, are called northings, alright? And they will determine how far north you are from a certain point, okay? So far we've covered sheet 56, or how the country is broken up, sheet 56, Kildare, Dublin, Wicklow, we've gone through grid prefixes and northings and eastings. Okay, there is one thing I have to mention at this point is the three norths. Okay, so what we have is we have grid north, we have true north, and we have magnetic north. Okay, now the difference is for grid north, they basically take Ireland and they lay a big grid down on top of it. Okay, and it covers the whole of the land, and it heads exactly straight up to the very tip top of the globe. Okay. So that's grid north, okay? Now, true north, okay, for us who believe that the earth is round, the earth's axis is actually tilted off to the side, alright? The exact measurement I'm not sure, but and my pencil probably isn't accurate, but it's there or thereabouts. Okay, so because the earth is tilted on its axis, I'm trying to get it so that the camera is able to see it. Because the earth is tilted on its axis, grid north would run dead straight up, okay, and it would direct you to around about where my finger is, alright? True north, however, directs you to the top of the Earth's axis, okay? So that's true north. Magnetic north, when the Earth rotates, it causes a magnetic field, okay? And the magnetic field actually, the source of the magnetic field that the needle points to on your compass is actually a little bit more over than true north. It's called magnetic north, okay, which is a little bit further over. Now, the reason why this is going to affect you is when you take a reading of this and you take a bearing or a direction from this, you're taking a bearing based on a grid, okay, a grid north. Now, although when you try and translate it and you put it onto the ground, okay, and you try and walk with your compass, instead of pointing to grid north, alright, your compass is going to throw you over to magnetic north, okay. Now, the difference isn't going to be a lot, okay, but it's significant enough that you would notice it in a long stretch. So for example, now with varies, okay, but for example, if you were to walk 5 kilometers on a bearing, okay, if you were to set your bearing for grid north, you could potentially be a couple of 100 meters out over the 5 kilometers. Alright, now if you keep your legs short and you only walk a kilometer and then you reset your bearing, there should be no problems. Alright, but it's something you just don't get too bogged down on it yet, okay? It'll come more into play when we're doing route cards and bearings and so on, but you just need to be aware of it, that there are 3 norths, okay? So we have sheet 56, grid prefix, northings, eastings, the 3 norths. We're on to map features. An Ordnance Survey Ireland map is absolutely crammed with features, okay? Now there's a good few that you should know and you should recognise nearly straight away, okay? So we're talking about car parks, alright, rural roads, spot heights, okay? These here are national park boundaries, okay? So you should be aware of these, because if you're walking, say from Duff Hill to Graval, there's a good chance you're going to leave the national park, go onto privately owned land and then back onto the national park, okay? It's just something you should be aware of when you're out walking. Other features such as rivers up here, lakes, viewpoints, all that kind of stuff, you should definitely recognise. Now, a valuable feature on a map are these things here called contour lines. Alright, they're all the black lines that are all over the map. Alright, basically explained, a contour line shows us on a map a 10 meter height change on the ground. So for example, from this point on the ground to this point on the ground, this is 10 meters higher than there, okay? And to continue on, that's 10 meters higher, and that's 10 meters higher, and that's 10 meters higher. Alright? So, one point to note with contour lines is every 50 meters in height difference, the line is a little bit darker. Okay? So, I don't know if you can see it here, but you'll see it on your own map. This line here is slightly heavier than the lines this side and the lines that side. But if we go up 50, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, this line is actually a little bit darker. Okay, it's a quick reference, so you can count it up in 50s rather than count it in 10s. Also as well, if you were to continue on up this way, another 50, it'd be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So in here, that line is slightly darker as well. Okay, now, because these lines show a height difference of 10 meters, we know that from here to here is pretty much flat, okay? Now there's going to be variations in the ground. You might get a 9 meter height change, but once it reaches 10, they have to put down another contour line, okay? So from here to here, the lines are pretty much spread out, which would tell us that this ground here is very flat, okay? So if we were to look at that on a scale, you would kind of say it's similar to that, okay? However, on the other side of Lugala, you can see that the lines are pretty much stacked on top of one another. Alright, now if you're getting a 10 meter height change and the lines are stacked one on top of the other, it's going to look something like this. Alright, if not even steeper again. You can see where the lines are very, very dark, very, very heavy. That's going to be pretty much a cliff, you know. I do know from experience, Mullaghcleavon, coming down on the northeastern side of Mullaghcleavon, like, I wouldn't chance walking up it. Alright, it is pretty much a cliff face. It's a very, very steep drop. I'll put it to you this way, if you fell down it, you wouldn't be able to stop in a hurry. So there are important points to note when it comes to the information that's provided on the map, okay? The likes of car parks and spot heights, super important, because I mean, you're going to drive your car out and park it before you go hill walking. So it's always very, very easy to find yourself when you're standing in a car park. Equally, spot heights, there's only one place you're going to go when you're hill walking, and that's to the top of the hill, okay? Now, the information on this map. They didn't just lay it on it and leave it to you to figure out what's what. Okay, down the bottom they have a thing called a legend. Alright? Now the legend is going to explain everything that's on the map. Alright? Important points for us to note are spot heights, triangulation pillars, lakes, rivers and streams. Alright, very good when you're out hill walking. If you come across a river, you can find yourself pretty quickly. Okay, so there's rivers and streams. Parking areas or car parks. Okay, again I talked about that. Campsites, youth hostels, national park boundaries. I discussed that earlier as well. On down forestries. Forestries are brilliant because if you're navigating, let's just say you're walking from Stony Top down here, okay, and you want to get up to Duff Hill, okay, you're not just going to set a bearing on your compass and walk in a dead straight line from Stony Top to Duff Hill. Okay, what's likely is you're going to kind of walk across until you hit the corner of this forest here. You're going to use this as a waypoint. Now I'm going to get into waypoints and bearings and how to navigate while you're hill walking, but the likelihood is you're going to come from Stony Top, alright, and you're going to stop in the corner of this forest, maybe head across to this forest and kind of walk around the contour lines rather than going uphill to come back downhill again. You're going to go from this corner of the forest to that corner of the forest. You're going to cross this river or stream. Maybe you might head along to the second stream, and then just before you hit the third stream, you're going to be handrailing the forest up with the forest all on your right hand side. Take a look up to your left and you're going to see Duff Hill. Okay, so that's just a quick way that forests, streams are going to be of benefit to you. So you're going to start here, navigate to the corner of this forest, which you'll probably be able to see. Navigate to the corner of this forest, which you'll probably be able to see. And then you're on counting the streams, 1 stream, 2 stream, a couple of 100 meters, swing a left and you're up Duff Hill. Okay, so there's why forests are going to be very important to you. After that then, that's kind of the basic features of a map covered, alright. What you're going to do before you go on your hill walk, you're going to do a little bit of planning and a bit of map reading. I'm going to show you in the next couple of videos how to organise and how to fill out a route card, which is a good one for safety, and it's also a good one just as a quick reference guide. You're getting your pre-planning done before you go out, so it makes things a little bit easier when you're out on the ground. Okay, so with that done, we have covered basically all the basic parts of a map. Okay, so next we're on to compass. Compass. Alright, this is just a standard base plate compass. Okay, one important point to note when you're buying a compass is you want to make sure this one has one, okay, but only because I've dropped it lots of times, and it's a kind of a it wouldn't be a great compass. It's only 6 or 12 euro, but it's fine for demonstration purposes. So, see the bubble in here? Alright, you don't want to have a bubble in your compass. Alright, what the bubble is going to do is when you try and hold your compass flat and take a reading off your needle, the bubble is just going to push the needle over to the side and it won't give you an accurate reading. So you want to, when you're buying a compass, make sure there's no bubble in it, okay? And if your bubble is any bigger than a P, okay, you want to try your compass out or get a new one. It'll get you out of a hole, okay, it'll still point you north, but it won't be accurate. Okay, so just to go through a couple of parts of the compass, I'm going to lift you down actually, it'll make it a bit easier. So parts of the compass, up here you have what are called roamers, okay, these 90-degree angles, and basically all they do is you have a 1 to 25,000, a 1 to 50,000 and a 1 to 63,000 roamer. All they do is on the corresponding map, so this is a 1 to 50,000 map, you use the 1 to 50,000 roamer and it just breaks your grid squares up into 10 even pieces, Okay. Now I'm going to get into grid references later on, and you'll see how it works. Okay. After that, then you have your housing. Okay, which is this around here. It rotates fully 360 degrees and more. Okay, this is a Mills compass. So you'll see it starts at 0, 0, and it goes all the way around and back to 6400. Okay, if you had a degrees compass, it would start at 0, 0, and it would go 90, 180, 270, and it would come back to 360 degrees. Okay, now the difference is for every degree, it's worth 17.4 mils. Okay, mils is short for milliradians. So if you want accuracy, okay, you want to get a Mills compass. If you're just doing it for hobby hiking and stuff like that, degrees is fine. Generally, a lot of people use degrees, but Mills is more accurate. Okay. So there's the housing group. The orientation lines. Okay. Inside the housing, you'll see red lines, okay, and an arrow. Those are called orientation lines, okay? Now what orientation lines are for, when you're taking a bearing of your map, you're going to put your compass down, lined up from point A to point B. I'll be covering it in another video, but you want to line your orientation lines up with your eastings on the map, okay? You want them to be exactly parallel, and that's going to give you a grid bearing, okay? Now again, I'll show you how to convert that into a ground bearing, but basically all I'm trying to do is explain the orientation lines and the purpose of them, okay? After that, then you have a ruler on the side, okay, from 0 up to 100 millimeters. It's going to vary on different compasses, but that's what it is on this compass. It's a quick method of measuring as the crow flies, okay? So if you remember, or I don't know, did I mention it in an earlier video, but the lines on the map here, okay, the grid lines, the northings and eastings, are actually 20 millimeters apart. They're 20 millimeters apart on the map, and which equates to 1 kilometer on the ground, okay? So if you want to take a quick measure, let's say from Seafingen to Kipure, you put your compass down. It doesn't really matter direction of travel. All you're doing is measuring between 2 points. Okay, so between Seafingen and Kipure is approximately 65 millimeters. Okay, so 65 millimeters. If 20 millimeters is 1 kilometer, we have 1, 2, 3 kilometers, and 5 mil is going to be 1/4 of a kilometer. So between Seafingen and Kipure, with a quick measurement as the crow flies, it comes to 3.25 k. And that was just literally a couple of seconds. Throw it up, take a measure, and it'll give you a reasonably accurate measurement as the crow flies. So they're kind of the basics of the compass. Okay, I'm gonna now in the video I'm gonna break down into the direction of travel arrow, magnifying glass, and the little stencil. Okay. Okay, so before we get into grid references, alright, there's one more point at least that I want to cover on the compass, okay? And you have here on this compass what's called a direction of travel indicator, okay? So your direction of travel indicator, what it does is, if you're going to take a bearing from where you are to where you want to go, alright, you line it up with your target and you set you make sure that your direction of travel indicator is facing in the right way, okay? Equally then, if you're on a map, or if you're looking at a map and you want to get a bearing from Kipure here to Seafingen, okay? What you would do is, if you're standing on Kipure, you put your compass down and you get your direction of travel indicator to point from Kipure to Seafingen, alright? So you put your ruler down between the two, with your direction of travel indicator facing the right way. Line up your orientation lines. Now, again, I will get into bearings in depth in a later video, but this is just quickly line up your orientation lines with your eastings on your map And there you have your bearing, okay, to go from Capure to Seafingen. Now, if your direction of travel indicator was facing the wrong way, let's say by accident, you put your compass on and you put it on upside down. So now your bearing is going to tell you how to get from Seafingen back to Capure, okay? Now, I'll set it just for the sake of it. Orientation lines parallel with these things. Now, what that will do is, you're standing on Capure now, you have your bearing set, or so you think, so you start to head off for Seafingen, okay? But you're actually heading in the wrong direction. Now, it's not really a big deal, okay? Because, or it's not really a big deal when you have like towns and stuff like that, because when you're standing on Capure, you're immediately going to look out in the way you're travelling and say, well, Seafingen isn't in here, all right? The problem comes when you're down in a valley, or you're in a forest, or you're close to a forest, or you're surrounded by forestry, and you have no idea which way is up. Okay, so that's why it's important to make sure that your little direction of travel indicator is facing in the right way. All right. Also on this, you have a stencil. All right, for just so you can mark and draw a little circle around your point. You have a magnifying glass. Okay, and you have your roamer, which I'm about to cover now in better detail when we get on to grid references. Okay. Okay, so we're on to grid references now. Alright, we're going to be focusing mainly around this house here in Ballyrea. Okay, which house? We'll find out now in a minute. When you're plotting grid references or reading grid references, there's a phrase you have to remember. Alright, there's no offence meant by it. The phrase is, you have to go in the door before you go up the stairs. Alright, it's a handy one to remember. All it basically means is, when you're reading a map, you have to come in and read these lines that move, that bring it across the way. You have to read 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. You have to read them before you read up the way. So, eastings before your northings. Okay? So, 4 figure for this location. Alright, we'll jump straight in. When you're writing a grid reference, one of the most important things you have to remember is, you always have to remember your grid prefix. We talked about them earlier on. Alright, so like I said, we're going to be working in grid prefix Oscar. Okay? So, first thing that goes down when you're writing a grid reference is grid prefix. So, like I said, we'll work in one of these houses in Ballyrea, okay? And our 4 figure would mean, if we want to locate, say, this house here in Ballyrea, we'll come in the door, alright, until we reach our target, which is here. And when we do, we just go back to the previous line. So you come in the door till you reach your target, and you go back to the previous line, 1-8. Okay, so you write that down. Oscar 1-8 so far is our grid reference. Now we have to figure out how far north we have to come. So we come to our northings. And again, same thing. We're going to read up our northings until we reach our target and go back to the previous one. Okay, so we're going to start down here, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. We come up, we hit our target, and we go back down 1, 4. So our 4 figure grid reference for that house in Ballyrea is 1-8, 1-4. That will put somebody inside this square. Alright? Very, very simple. Very, very simple. If we go to Malin, okay, a 4 figure for Malin is going to be 1-8. So you come in the door until you hit your target, go back to the previous line, 1-8. And you come up the stairs until you hit the target and you go back to the previous line, 1-3. So your answer for this one, for Malin, is going to be Oscar 1-8, 1-3. And that will put you in this grid square somewhere. Alright? The next thing we're going to do, so that'll give you accuracy to 1,000 meters. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're We're going to skip the 6 figure because we're going to talk mainly about 8 figure, so I don't see the purpose in 6 figure. You'll get the same information from the 8 figure. Alright, so from the 8 figure, the very first thing we're going to do when we're writing down our grid reference is, as always, grid prefix Oscar. Alright, you should never forget your grid prefix. Because you imagine, like I said earlier, you write down 1814, how are they meant to know where to look for you? They could be looking anywhere until you say, oh well, I'm in Oscar 1814, boom, straight to this location. Okay? So, 8 figure. Alright, you're going to take your compass. You're going to go to the roamer on your compass. And you're going to put this point of your roamer, alright, on top of your target. Now, a point to note about the roamer is, all the roamer does is, it breaks your grid square up into 10 equal spaces. Okay? That's all it does. So, you put your target, or you put your point down on top of your target on the map. Alright, so we're going with the house in Ballyray. And we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to write down our grid prefix, as we already have done. We're going to come in the door to 18. Okay, and we're going to write that down. Okay, sorry about the handwriting. And then we're going to move across our little roamer here until we find where the number on our roamer intersects the 18 line. Okay, now I'm slightly off because the camera is in front of me and I can't see it. But I'm going to say it's 2. Now, so that's our starting point. 182. Now, if it was, watch this blue line here if you can see it. If the blue line was halfway between the 2 and the 3, we need to break down this gap into 10 equal spaces. Now you can imagine how small they're going to be, okay? But if it was halfway between the 2 and the 3, you would call that 25. If it was 3/4 the way towards the 3, you'd call it 27 or 28. If it was nearly at the number 3, you'd call it 29. But it's not. It intersects, the blue line intersects our roamer at exactly the 2 mark. So we'll call it 20. Okay? Excuse me, same goes for the bottom. Alright, so we're going to come up the stairs all the way until we reach our target and go back down. So we're on the 14 line. Okay, we're going to put our point back over the house. Okay, and we're going to travel down until we come across where the northern line intersects our roamer. Now, as you can see, it's just before the 6. Alright, so it's 5 point something. So we'll call it 5.8 or 5.9. We'll call it 5.8. So you would write down 5.8 because it's not 6. It's not 4, it's 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. It's in between 5.5 and 6, so we'll call it 5.8. So that's where you get your 8 figure grid reference from. Oscar 1820 14, which is this line, 1458. Alright, very, very simple. If you want to plot something on the map, for example, if you want to tell someone that they should be in, we'll give an 8 figure as well, Oscar, they should be in 17201430. Well, then it's the exact same as what we did with the house, only it's in reverse. You go to 17 and you put the 20 on the 17 line, okay? And you come to the 14 line, which is just here, alright? And you go to 30. So you move it up 30. So that location that we're pointing at now on our roamer is 17201430. So we'll just move our compass and put a little. Okay, so that kind of concludes the video, alright? Thanks very much for logging on and watching it. And we've covered maps, our compass, grid references, okay? So if you know your location, if you find yourself on, say, a crossroads or a junction between a river and a road, you'll be able to put your compass down on that point and give a grid reference of your location. Not forgetting grid prefix, super important, as we covered earlier on. Alright, equally then, if someone was to give you a grid reference, you'll be able to put your compass down on top of the map and you'll be able to find the grid reference that they've given you. Alright, so if there's enough interest, or if this kind of video works, I'll do another video on taking a bearing. Oh, my apologies. Taking a bearing, converting a bearing, walking on a bearing, and I can't, when you put all that together and this information, it's going to all compile into what's known as a route card. Okay, so we're going to compile a route card then, either in the next video or in the one after that. It depends. I don't know how long it's going to take. I didn't expect this video to be as long, but as you can see, there's a lot in it. Thanks very much again for watching the video. Any comments or questions, put them in the comments, or email me or PM me on Facebook, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, okay? If you liked it, click like. If you didn't, click unlike. Make sure again you drop me a note and let me know why you didn't like it, so we can try and improve on it for next time. Alright, thanks very much.